Was that a bonus sound that we just got there? Did that used to happen, Nate?
I don't know. I didn't hear a sound. I heard normal sounds, and then I was expecting
Oh,
you to do an intro to the show, and then you
you know
didn't.
what? I know what it is. I had my YouTube app open, so I was listening to the show as well as being on the show.
Okay, that'll
A
happen.
rollicking start to our show, NXT. We are talking
We
um,
are professionals.
February 25th, 2025, 225. We are talking NXT. If I didn't say aloha, you know what? Aloha. I can say that at the beginning and the end because it means two things, Nate. This show was basically fan service. Babyfaces won all 5 matches. They kept this crowd very hot and gave them lots to be excited about. The Hardy Boys showing up, Santino getting a great response. Chelsea Green and Piper Niven are apparently gonna goof around on NXT for a couple of weeks. Why not? Do a tag match with Salruka and Zarya. Yeah, lots of appearances, lots of baby faces winning stuff. The only thing that was weird was they kind of didn't know who Moose was, but I guess they will. I guess we'll find out about that. So, Goodfellas says really fun show tonight. I had a blast watching it. Ryan Solorio says agreed. I enjoyed that show. Yeah, I feel like they're on a hot streak right now, and having a lot of fun just covering this show right now. I've been doing this for about 8 years, and I think this is one of the best stretches they've had. Really, really cool stuff. And Steve Repshire says Roxanne still hasn't turned in her NXT keys either. Yes, what I said was I threw back to an old Bianca Belair saying, and I said, does she still go here? Because I did not know if they would show her on this show again, but they still love the idea of somebody losing on the way out of the territory. Yeah, throw into a lot of these comments, but they're all still relevant to what I would say about this show. CJ LaChapelle says it was really cool to see Santino. Solorio says Santino looked like he was trying to keep it together when his music came on. Yeah, it was. These guys came out to their old music. Santino came out to the old Santino music. Hardy Boys came out to the song, the track that
Well,
I think is called "Twist of Fate." I can't remember for sure. I don't remember these things.
no, well, that Hardy's track, that track is like a public domain. They use that in TNA too.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not realize that. So, all
Matter of
right.
fact, I've heard that track in commercials.
Wow. I
Yeah,
wonder if I have and just didn't
it's not
register it.
actually like a WWE owned theme.
Oh, I just assumed that was a Jim Johnston joint,
No, it wasn't.
which I almost called
Cactus.
out.
Same with Cactus Jack.
Really?
Cactus Jack's music, same deal. I've heard that in commercials and other things in the past.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, good for whoever came up with that song and did not expect it to end up being iconically related to some pro wrestler. Okay. Yes, and I also there was an AEW mentioned in the comments, and I got 2 AEW commercials during this show because locally AEW is coming to St. Paul. I am basically sideswiping St. Paul. I'm in the closest suburb to St. Paul. It's like an 8-minute drive to get to the Roy Wilkins Auditorium. And that's the venue that they're playing. That's the venue that NXT plays when they come here to do house shows, although that hasn't happened in quite a while. But always funny to me to see another wrestling company's spot on a wrestling show. Anyway, we might as well talk about the show. Your main event is Ricky Saints and Javon Evans versus Ethan Page and Wesley. 2 issues going on. Saints, his first issue is with Lee, and we got Evans and Page with their ongoing thing. And so yeah, they kind of had their cake and ate it too here. We had Evans and Page brawling to the outside and leaving, so Saints could win And even though they didn't give away the singles match exactly, he got his moment and he celebrated alone at the end of the show. Held up a sign that somebody had made for him, although we didn't see the sign very well before it got thrown. And then the one other thing that involved these guys was Trick Williams, who's still playing around with the darker side of Trick Williams, not accepting Javon Evans trying to relate to him, and giving Ricky Saints just a quick handshake and saying, "Yeah, I know who you are," and then leaving, taking his leave. So I don't think Trick is turning heel, but he's playing around with the darker side of Trick Williams. So the main point of that is main event. Ricky Saints gets his moment. You knew he would. You knew. I mean, any of us could have written this, and we would have been right. So whatever. And what was this match? About 12 or 13 minutes. I typed it, but this is the only one I forgot to write down on my notes. So
12 minutes and 47 seconds. 47 seconds according to your report.
47. Okay, and my report wouldn't lie because I wrote it. Why would I lie to me? So there is your okay. Goodfella says this, and I do have to add this. I liked Ricky Saints' entrance. Music was fine / good, but still has generic computer-made sound to it. Yeah, we are in a very generic music sort of era.
Yes,
my favorite sign on Monday Night Raw was Def Rebel No Yeet. That was good. It actually might have been SmackDown that was on, but it was on one of them, and it amused me. And you know what? Then they showed it on Raw, and they did not video distort it, so somebody knows, even though they're not explicitly coming out and saying it. I don't get the approach to music right now. That's a whole other kettle of fish, my friend. Let's talk main event.
Oh, that was you throwing to me. Okay.
It sure was.
All right, cool. No, main event. Like you said, this was really Ricky Starks or Ricky Saints time. That's going to take some time. Ricky Saints time to shine here. Really good match. All the way through. I think here Tyreek and Tyson giving that little extra something. I've got this weird echo in my headset. I don't know what's going on. But Tyreek and Tyson giving like a really like just nice vibe to Wes Lee. Over the past handful of weeks, they've kind of been aligned with him. Obviously on the outside, kind of interfering in the match here. Getting kind of thrown, well, not really thrown out, but you know what I mean. Not being able to be utilized anymore, I guess. I also really liked Wes Lee and Ethan Page just like fighting to the back area, kind of breaking away from the tag match, leaving their partners high and dry, because their feud is much more important than the actual tag team match that's going on right now, or that was going on at the time. Obviously, yeah, like you said, this was Ricky's time to shine. Obviously incredibly over with the crowd. I agree with you on the music. The music's not bad, but it didn't wow me either. Most of the music really hasn't. I think like Oba Femi's was like they knocked it out of the park with his. And even then, I feel like that's kind of generic. It just works because Oba struts and the music goes to that strut. Obviously this main event, Angle kind of, like you said, kind of does tie in with Trick Williams as well. We saw him earlier in the night. I'm with you. I don't think we're going to necessarily see a heel Trick Williams here. I think this is really supposed to be he's angry, he's upset, he's in a down part of his career right now after riding super high all of last year. He spent the first, as he said, in the segment, in his segment tonight, he hasn't won a match yet this year. And for somebody, a two-time NXT champion, two-time North American champion, somebody that's the face of the brand, that's tough. So, or tough on the ego. So yeah, really curious to see where that goes as well. I think we're going to wind up seeing Trick versus Javon at some point in the near future. Trick will probably wind up leaning heel in that match, but I don't think that's necessarily going to be a full-blown heel turn for Trick. But we'll see. I think it's I don't think it's a good idea to turn him heel. I think he's a merch mover, and once he does make it to the main roster, I think you're going to want that. So I don't know, my 2 cents.
Yes, my sense would go to the same place. I understand trying everybody out in other things before they hit their final form and go to the main roster, but I don't think you play around with the groundswell of popularity that Trick Williams has. I think they're already playing with fire, given how little they have featured him in the last few weeks. I mean, this is a guy who's been doing like 30-second, 90-second backstage segments and calling it a week, and that's like all he's done. I just don't understand why they're doing what they're doing. Maybe he's dealing with a small injury that is undisclosed. Who knows? But they're not giving him a lot of ring time. And not a lot of time period. It just seems a very strange thing to do with your most popular wrestler. So okay, very strange stuff, but he remains popular, still getting the reactions in Cincinnati and everywhere else. So I guess since we're talking about Cincinnati, I'm going to go weird, and we're going to go to the second match instead of the opener, which was a banger. But let's go to Moose versus Lexis King, which quietly was a banger also. The CW censor no fewer than 7 times chanted holy shit chants, muted those chants 7 times in this show. So just out there killing big moments and big responses from crowds. Hardy Boys just entering and getting that just for their entrance. So there you go. But Moose versus Lexis King. This was for the X Division Championship. Moose, of course, wins this, but Lexis King was game. I was not looking forward to this, as per my usual for Lexis King matches, because I thought he had a hard cap on what he can do. And lo and behold, after quite a bit of time in the business and even quite a bit of time in the brand, he's putting some more interesting matches together. And I think it's more character work than actual wrestling work, but that has come along too and is looking a lot smoother. Moose is just so impressively powerful and mean. I mean, just the backdrop to the outside where the ramp was waiting for Lexis King, just stuff that I'm literally just like almost open mouthed at. And I've seen it all because I've seen as many wrestling matches as anybody has. I've just taken so much of it. But Moose over Lexis King in 9 minutes and 30 seconds. Obafemi comes out and congratulates him, but says this is what people are waiting for. The one thing that was a downer here is that Moose didn't get a humongous reaction for being known, like, at all. That was too bad. And Lexis King just getting a big babyface reaction just makes you wonder why they put him in this match. This was strange, but Moose is somebody I've covered a few times. He does some of the New Japan shows when they come to LA and do pay-per-views that I can watch as part of a New Japan subscriber. And I always like covering Moose. He always brings it. And I'm always surprised by his power, even though I have seen it many times. He's very much like Jeff Cobb in that way. So Moose beat Lexis King in the second match, and he's got on a collision course with Obafemi, which they are calling, at least Femi called it title versus title. I don't remember if that was
so Femi called it
later.
Femi called it title versus title in the ring, which I remember because it was right after they did the angle with Julia and Stephanie for title. So it's like, wow, they're doing that twice. And then then they specifically made mention it was just for the NXT title at least 3 more times on the show.
Okay. So that's where my confusion came in, because I just thought there is no way that they can convert on that. There's no way either of those is going to the other brand. So I was just thinking screw job for sure. So I took it in when they said that it was only for the one championship, but maybe that's why they cut Oba off so quickly. I don't know. Yeah, weird enough that they're doing it with the women with the championship that has not been around very long. But maybe that is their roadmap to get a continued feud between Vicaire and Julia, and then leave the door open for Jordan Grace to get a championship. Who knows? I think I'd still bet on a screw job there, and somebody else getting involved.
Oh yeah,
So
I definitely do with the women, but we haven't got there yet.
we haven't. I haven't really even let you talk about Moose and Lexus King, so I better do
No,
that.
you haven't. Shut up. Uh, no, Moose Lexus King. This was a good match, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. This is the first time I've actually seen a Moose match bell to bell. I've seen some stuff on YouTube and Reddit in the past, but never like actually just sat down and like watched a Moose match. So I was very impressed with what I saw. I mean, this is a guy who's, I think they said is what, like 6'6", 300 pounds, or at least what they were billing him tonight on TV. And my God, he can move. He can really move like no other. Well, I wouldn't say like no other, but like you wouldn't expect somebody of his size to be able to move around. And he looks so unassuming too. Obviously, get a shirt off, he looks very assuming. But like I feel like you put like a shirt on him or something, he just looks like your next door neighbor or whatever. You don't expect him to be that killer that he is. Um, but that said, really enjoyed the match. I was I didn't think we'd wind up seeing any sort of uh, you know switch here with the TNA title, or the X Division title. As I keep saying on this show, with this multi-year deal with TNA, there's going to be a time where somebody from WWE wins a TNA title or TNA wins a WWE title. It's going to happen. Didn't think this was going to be it. Um, we'll see when that time comes. When they announced Obafemi versus Moose, and Obafemi said title for title, I thought maybe that was going to be it, because it's like, okay, there's only three ways to get out of this. Oba wins both titles, Moose wins both titles, or there's some sort of screwy finish. So I'm like, there's a good possibility we'll see it. And obviously that wasn't what we ended up getting booked. I don't know if Oba just misspoke or they changed their minds last minute or what. But is what it is there. Um, yeah, Lexus King, like you said, continuing to improve. I think the character work is certainly where it is. His wrestling's always been good. It's never been the same as his dad or anything like that. But obviously we don't want to compare too much. People are going to, um, but I think the Lexus King character is coming along. Um, as Heritage Cup champion, I'm honestly going to say I like it. Um, because he's taking everything that the Heritage Cup stood for and everything that it was, and he's kind of throwing it out the window, and generating heat for himself that way. And it's just going to make Noam Dar's return that much sweeter when it does happen.
So, in the chat, Ryan Slorio says, last time I saw Moose, he was Austin Aries' heavy. LOL. Goodfella responds, Austin Aries. LOL.
Yes.
Yep. Not much you can say beyond that. I very recently watched Austin's run in NXT during the podcast NXT 8 years back. So I saw that run, and
that was 8 years ago.
Yep. I remember him
God.
not
I remember
being
that.
I remember him coming in with so much fanfare and thinking, yeah, he's whatever. He can kind of wrestle. On the mic as a babyface, he's just atrocious because he's not likable at all. And I watched it, and it was at most times worse than I thought. But actually, when he was a heel, it kind of worked. So I guess I missed that. But whatever. No, I was going to say no big loss, but I'm too big to say that, so I'm not going to say no big loss. Yeah,
I'm
pro
not. No big
athletes
loss.
in person. Yeah, I said it too. But pro athletes in person. I mean, Moose, he's a giant man. So peeling back the curtain a little bit. I am the general manager of a sports collectible shop, one of the most successful in the nation, actually. And we're in a suburb of Minneapolis, and we get pro athletes who come in, and the one who's coming in the most recently, he's just gotten the sickness for cards, is a guy named Carl Nix Jr. And he is, I don't know that people remember his name or not. I'm sure they do in New Orleans because he is in the Saints Hall of Fame. He had health issues that killed his career faster than he would have liked, but he made his money. He played for like 6 or 7 years. And this guy, if you just knew his personality, you would not think, okay, this guy's probably giant. But he's like 6'6", 330. And there was a dude who got in the face of one of my other employees the other day. And this guy, Carl Nix, was there, and he just kind of side-eyed him. And the dude was like, oh, yeah, I'll go. So to have that guy as a regular customer who knows you and likes you all by name is pretty cool. But yeah, we get the pro athletes, and every time they come in, even if we don't know who they are, we know they probably used to play something. Goodfella in the chat says, I need some Panini Select Megas. I know, I need them too, and it's one of the only things the store doesn't have right now.
I just want a Panini.
This guy and his sandwiches. Nate, Panini, a card company. I will learn you eventually. But
I play Magic. There we go.
We can't get much Magic because there's a weird thing where you either classify yourself as a collectible shop or a gaming shop. And if you're a collectible shop, you can get all the sports you want. Well, as much as your distributor gives you. But you can't get almost any Magic. But if you're a gaming shop, the trade-off is you got all this Magic, but you don't get any sports at all. So we had to make a decision, and unfortunately, we don't get a lot of Magic, and I wish we did. What a bummer. Okay, so I'm off the rails, folks. I'm talking shop. Normally, I do all the women's matches together. At least that's what we've been doing. So let's keep it that way and finish with the last men's match. Hardy Boys versus No Quarter Catch Crew. 11 minutes and 10 seconds. It was kind of a match. It was greatest hits. This was Hardy's making sure they did all the stuff that people wanted to see. And No Quarter Catch Crew doing a funny bit where they tried to do one of Hardy's moves on them, failed, and then the Hardys immediately succeeded doing it back to them. So this was really a way for the Hardy Boys to be reintroduced so Santino can say he was in the back talking to Ava, and he made the match between Fractium and the Hard Boys. This is the way Santino talks, and this is why we like him. So that match was made for Roadblock, which I was so happy to see, Nate, was a Tuesday. So it's not an extra show where I got to like rush home to see this on time. This is a Tuesday show. Happy to see that as well. Hardy Boys got a massive match.
These Saturday shows are getting a little like, I miss Sunday shows. Sunday shows are easy to watch. Saturday shows, not so much.
Yep. So we are going to get the Hardy Boys versus Axiom and Nathan Fraser, who had their moment in the ring with Fraser saying the best tag team in the world today facing the best tag team of all time. Argue with both if you want, but both of them are within shouting distance of these, even if you don't agree with them. So it should be a cool moment, even though it is for the TNA Tag Team Championship, so we know who's going to win. So yeah, that was your wraparound match. 11 minutes and 10 seconds. Hardy Boys still got it. I mean, their bodies look old, but their wrestling would say otherwise for the most part, Nate. They don't do it at the speed they used to, but the talent is still undeniably still there.
Oh, 100%. Hardy Boys, they have certainly changed the way that they wrestle. I mean, it's like they don't move nearly as fast. They've kind of lost a step to a point, but I mean, you expect that with age. I mean, they've been wrestling since what, 94, 95, something like that. At least professionally. So more power to them. More power to them. I hurt my back bending down to tie my shoe. So, and I don't wrestle. So, there's that. But no, this is a really good match, a fun match. Like you said, this is really to kind of reintroduce the Hardy Boys, let them get their things in, just kind of be a fun match for the fans, really to lead to that Fraxium Hardy's moment later on in the night, or sorry, later on after this particular match. And like you said, yeah, being for the TNA championships, I don't think we're going to see Fraxium win the match. We're probably going to see the Hardys go over. Again, they're not doing title for title here. They're having two champions face each other, but only one title is on the line. So I think it's going to be the same thing as Moose versus Obafemi. Obafemi's going to go over, and we're going to see the Hardys go over here. Come time for Roadblock. But how cool is it to see the Hardys back in WWE, back in or in NXT for the very first time? Speculation about them potentially signing a Legends deal, again, pure speculation. I have nothing to backing that up, but the fact
there's
that they've
no way they're not going to. There's just no way. So
exactly,
maybe tomorrow,
and
maybe a year from tomorrow, but yeah,
well,
it'll happen.
yeah, and the fact that WWE just released Hardy's merchandise, while they're currently under TNA contract, so it's like,
I actually didn't know that.
yeah. So they just released a new, either one or two Hardy Boys shirts. I saw that online this morning. So, but yeah, doesn't matter. Hardy's one of my favorite tag teams of all time. Jeff, with all of his demons and all of the dumb, stupid things that he's done over the years. Yeah, I'm glad to see him kind of clean, sober, and have a little bit of a redemption here, towards the end of his career.
Wrestlers intentionally mispronouncing names of other wrestlers, always hilarious to me.
Oh my
Chris
God,
Jericho
yes.
did it. My favorite that Jericho did was Kirk Angel, to the point where I still call Kirk Angel if I'm talking with somebody who really, really knows wrestling. My favorite one Santino did ever by far is John Cena.
John Cena.
To the point where I say John Cena every single time I talk about that man in a Nod podcast capacity.
There was a backstage, I think it was a TikTok exclusive thing that Ariana Grace and Santino did, talking about a bunch of NXT wrestlers, and in there Santino called Trick Williams Tricky William, and
Yep.
I just can't. I love it. I want to just call him Tricky William forever now.
Early on in this show, Ariana Grace and Santino Marella had their moment. Lola Vice showed up because that's something that's not been happening. Lola has not been on TV very much since her last feud, which was a win over Jada Parker, which she should not have won, but whatever. I was in the arena. It was whatever. Okay. Anyway, yeah, they were doing that, and Lola Vice got in a pretty funny line that she wanted to go with Ariana Grace tonight. That is, unless your dad didn't teach you, or unless nobody in your family taught you how to fight. And Santino gave her the side eye. Then the Cobra came out, and he had to talk the Cobra down. The Cobra got a pop because the Cobra gets a pop. That is what happens. This guy got an arm snake over because he's just that silly.
A sentient arm snake.
Yes. So that led to, might as well save the best for last and just talk this quickie first. Lola Vice versus Ariana Grace. Didn't know what they were going to do here because honestly, Lola's not been getting TV time, and she's fine, but they want her to be a super big deal because she's legitimately really powerful and legitimately a great fighter. But it's kind of, she's okay at all the things. She's not bad at any of the things. She's not great at any of the things. She's good in there. And Ariana Grace, I would say, is really, really great in at least the area of being hilarious within her character. Grace out there with just this gloriously overdone cape that looks like this 80s, 90s throwback. Everything. I just love the presentation of Ariana Grace, who also like apologized to the referee when she got told to stop because she was going too hard in the corner. She says, "I'm really sorry." And I don't remember if she
She
said
gets it. She just gets it.
Jeremy's. She does, and she was taught how to get it, but that doesn't mean you get it. You could still go out there and be Ted DiBiase Jr. and kind of get it. But she really, really gets it. So love her, but she had to do the job in 225. I stand by thinking that that Ariana Grace will have a better career than Lola Vice in this company, but I guess we're a long way from finding that out. I'm just so glad Ariana's back. I adore her. So anything on this quickie and Ariana and her dad, keep that down because they're
If you
being
know,
secret
you
about it.
know.
Uh, if
Um,
you know, you
no,
know. So
I thought this was kind of, I think it's cool the fact that, Ariana and Santino are doing something together. I mean, she wasn't doing a whole heck of a lot at NXT TV. I think she was actually out with an injury, if memory serves. But now she's this ambassador to TNA. She's been doing quite a bit on TNA. This was one of the first times we saw her back in NXT in a while. I think it was last week or the week before, whatever it was. This first match we've seen her in quite some time, and this is pretty much what I expected. I didn't expect her to get much in against Lola Vice whatsoever. I figured it was going to be a pretty quick Lola Vice, let's say squash, but victory, I guess. Not really a whole heck of a lot to say here, to be completely honest, other than if this is what we need to get Santino back on our TV, then so be it.
yeah, give me their buffoonery any day. That's enough for me. Even if I never saw her work another match, just having her back there doing stupid things would be one of the highlights of my show. One of my favorite takeaways.
Totally.
So good stuff there. Yeah, I thought the match might be a little bit longer since if they have a match that goes under 9 minutes, it's almost clockwork that it goes between 4.5 and 5.5 minutes. And I know this just because I take these down and I have pages and pages and pages of these. There are exceptions, but a lot of matches go between 4.5 and 5.5 minutes if they're not going to go longer. A few people in the chat were talking about the venue here. CJ saying, I am still getting used to that really short NXT entrance. And Goodfella saying crowd was very close to the ring too, packed house. Yeah, they get pretty full houses when they're going out on the road into these mid-level arenas, stuff like that. So I like the
Sold
venues
out,
they've been.
standing room only.
I a main event anywhere in the world. Thank you, Gorilla Monsoon. SRO signs went out early. That was one of his lines. But yeah, this was definitely a pretty packed house here, and I like these venues they're picking. They're loud, they're raucous, but they're still intimate in a way, and I like all of that. It feels like up and coming wrestling. If
I
this,
would take a small venue like that over a giant stadium show any day of the week.
yeah,
You know?
yeah, unless you're trying to go to WrestleMania, in which case you want to make sure there's a lot of seats just so you can be in the arena. Um, so yeah, that is that one. So let's go to the last match, which was the first match, which was Stephanie Vicaire defending the North American Championship against Carmen Petrovic. This went 11:38, and boy, this was sure pretty glorious. I really, really liked this match. Vicaire could go in there and wrestle a broom, and I'd be all about it because she can make it look good. She can bring that broom to 3 stars. But Carmen's really kind of coming along too. So she has had her ups and downs. I know she came out with a couple of really crummy matches, and then she had a couple of really good ones. So maybe jitters, maybe whatever it was. Now she's getting reps, working heel, hanging out with Ashante the Adonis, who I thought he had a wonderfully obnoxious getup. This black and white cowboy thing that he was sporting. I just loved it. It was sharp, but it also just made him look so self-important, and I thought that was great for Ashante too. But yeah, Carmen, of course, doing the job here in what I think is her first one-on-one shot at a championship, but she's been around a while. But Steph, of course, takes her down 11:38, and then she does the moment later on with Julia, and they decide to make a match, which I thought was way too early. But they are taking that particular bullet out of the chamber and making that one championship versus championship. That championship hasn't been around for very long. There have only been 3 champions. So I think it's weird if they're going to shutter that championship, but you never know because championships come and go. I would bet on a screw job and for them to both get different feuds out of said screw job and then end up fighting each other down the line. But that's talking far ahead. I just don't think this is where the championships get merged because they could make way for Jordan Grace, which is great. But then which one of these two has a really, really short championship reign just because of that? Because it would be short for Julia and extremely short for Stephanie Becerra. Anyway, Becerra versus Petrovic, my favorite match of the night. By a lot, actually.
Yeah.
There was other good stuff. There was other really good stuff, but a lot of it was fan service. Becerra versus Petrovic, purely as a wrestling match, was my favorite match of the night. So on. Ryan Solorio says, I think those bad matches were because of Nikita Lyons. You will not get any argument from me, friend.
Or me.
Nate on the opener.
Yeah, this was a great opener. Like you said, I think wrestling wise, probably my favorite match of the night too. Stephanie and Carmen. Carmen's somebody that, we've had our eye on for a while. She's never disappointed us, I guess. So I've never really thought she's had a bad match. She's always consistently improved. I remember, when she first kind of debuted, I wanted to see more out of her. I don't remember everything from back then, but I do remember kind of getting those vibes. But I think in the ring, she's definitely stepped it up. She's getting her character work under her belt too, especially the stuff going on with Ashante, the Adonis. Some of it's a little cringy, but whatever. It's not. At least it's not like Vince McMahon level story writing cringy. So I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week. What was I going to say? Stephanie and Julia, that I agree with you on. I think it's a little bit too soon to go to that well, but they're going there. Title for title. I didn't even really give it a thought about them unifying the titles here. Mostly probably because they're just brand new, too new. And then with them introducing, mid-card women's titles on the main roster, I can't see them getting rid of the one that the first one that they debuted, especially after only 3 champions. So I think most likely, what we're going to see, and this is I even said it earlier in the night. We're going to wind up seeing some sort of a screwy finish here, where both of them keep their titles and they wind up walking away into different feuds. Maybe one of them's with Jordan Grace, maybe the other one's Cora Jade, or something along those lines. But I'm not saying they're not going to put both belts around, either Stephanie or Julia's waist, but I don't know. If I was a betting man, I think I would have my money on that screwy finish.
All right. I guess we're gonna talk some backstage stuff. I should probably find out if there were any emails. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I don't think we did them last week either.
What? Seriously?
Yeah. Well, you had some stuff going on last week. We weren't, we were just trying. We were trying to get through the show last week.
That is true. And the stuff's still ongoing, but stuff is getting. Thanks. Several people reached out, which was really nice because you don't even like some you don't even know are listening, and they're listening to you every week, and people had some cool things to say and just passed along some words. Thank you. Very thoughtful. It was my sister, and she's getting through some stuff right now, and is not in the not wanting to talk about it more than she has to, but is getting there. She's going to be fine, and this isn't the end of her story. So thank you all so much for talking to me about stuff. Let me get to the right email address and remember how to do email without pushing too many buttons. What is it today? The 25th? Yeah, we didn't we didn't do them last week. Sorry. Kevin Catani, salutations, gents. I hope this email finds you well. I thought tonight was a good episode. I don't need to see it every week, but I do have a fondness for the raised entranceway. So do I. Very WCW of them. Following the events of tonight, Roadblock is shaping up to be a great card. It was awesome to see Moose on NXT TV, and I always pop for the Hardys, but poor Matt's knees just don't have it anymore. How do you think the TNA relationship is going so far? This feels like one of the best wrestling company relationships ever,
Yeah.
that hasn't broken down in some way already. So couldn't tell you what the thoughts are from the brass, but it sure seems like this is mutually beneficial. Lastly, it was good to see Ricky Saints wrestle, and I'm very excited for what he can bring to the table. My question regarding Mr. Saints is, what is his ceiling? How long do you think he'll be in NXT? Thanks as always. Go VIP and listen to AYB. Office hours are now over. The Professor, Kevin P. Catani, PhD. I think his ceiling is high-ish. I think he has the same kind of ceiling as, let's say, Carmelo Hayes. When Saints gets to the main roster, I think that he will be in line for some losses because he is not a humongous dude. And I think that he will go there and he will take some beatings. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes there as a heel. He's probably going to be working both face and heel during his time in NXT. I think he will spend some real time in NXT learning the production side of things and how things are done in this company, as it differs from his last one. So I think that they will take their time with him, figure out where they want him to slot, figure out what they want to do with him, because Ricky's he's a real talent, but he's on the small side to be a world champion. So I don't think that they probably are thinking that with him right now, but they are thinking they have somebody who is right now he's cool, and that's all he needs to be. That is a line from The Social Network. Right now, it doesn't matter if you're not making money. Right now, it's cool. So I think that you can do something really interesting with him over time if people really respond to what he's able to do in the ring and what he's able to do in as it relates to relating to people, which I think he's good at, but I think he can get better at if he really works at it. So they're taking it slow with him already. They've worked him in, they've got him his match, but it was a tag match. I don't think he's a future world champion. I think in another wrestling area, I would have said that he was, but in this company right now with the talent they have, who's he going to beat and when? That would be my question. So I think that it's stacked there at the top, and that would be hard to crack into. But a secondary championship, I could see being in the cards for him. At least get that as a dry run and see, do we think of this guy at all as world champion material? So I think that is a question that even 1 month from now, I could revisit and have way different thoughts on, either more or less positive, bullish as to whether I think how high he's going to go. But yeah, not first impressions. I've seen a lot of him. But
First WWE impressions.
yes, indeed.
Yes.
I think that I like it, but right now it's not a main event act. There's work to be done to get there, Nate.
I honestly can't disagree with anything that you said. I think He's a great talent. I think if this was maybe 2016, 2018 WWE, this might be a bit of a different story. But now there's so much star power on the main roster, and hell, in NXT in general, where not everybody can be a world champion, not everybody can be on top, especially where WWE is really prone to have long-term WWE champions. We're having, I mean, Roman Reigns. I don't think we're going to see another 4-year long, title reign anytime soon. But Cody's had it for a year. The women's championships, those they tend to have longish reigns. A few months long at least. So not everybody can be a champion. Is it something that could happen? Absolutely. Never say never in this business. Never say never, period, really. But as it stands right now, and at least my first impression of Ricky Saints in the WWE is, I think the Carmelo Hayes comparison is actually a very, very fair one. I could see him kind of doing kind of very similar things to Carmelo, both in NXT and on the main roster. I will say I could see him winning the NXT championship. When I'm talking about world championships, I'm talking about, WWE championship or the world heavyweight championship. I could see him winning the NXT title, not right now, especially with Obafemi, holding that title. I think Oba's going to have a pretty long and lengthy reign, and dominant reign, to be honest. But kind of take Obafemi out of the equation and just, do I see Ricky Saints as an NXT champion? Sure, I could definitely see that. World champion or WWE champion, a little less likely because of who they have in the company right now. But the talent is certainly there. His size could also hold him back. I think I know I saw someone in the chat, good fella in the chat, Ricky will need to put on about 15, 20 pounds and the sky's the limit. And as much as I hate to say it, I think Goodfella might be right. And the only reason I hate to say, not that I don't want to be in agreement with one of the guys in the chat, one of you guys listening here, but it just, I hate commenting on people's appearance, really. But Ricky, I think if he did put on a little bit more muscle mass, he might be a little bit more appealing to the brass in WWE. But it is a completely different regime, different ball game in WWE. It's not always big meaty men slapping meaty man meat anymore. So I don't know. We'll see.
I always want to make a really disturbing segue when we talk about men slapping meat, but I'm too grown up to do that, Nate. I want you to know that. Okay, let's go backstage.
Who are you and what have you done with Kelly?
You know what? Maybe I need to get a few drinks in me or something. I don't know. And then really, really destroy my reputation or bolster it, I guess. Either way. Spears Group. Sean Spears has a new family, and they're taking on the original family known as the Family, Tony D'Angelo. And then we got a boring scene in the Italian restaurant. Sean Spears and his minions against Tony D and his minions. Nate, I've been very positive about this show, but that's going to bore me to a catatonic state.
You know what? I can find something else that you can be positive about on this show. Nikita Lyons wasn't on it.
That is very positive. But Spears, I feel for her because at one point they were pushing her so hard and there had to be people saying, "You're going to be a star." And those of us watching are like, "No, the hell she is not." And now she's going 4 weeks without being seen, and then she's showing up losing 2.5-minute matches. Not great, but okay. I digress. I was talking about something that is not actively bad.
The Families.
Really and boring is, I suppose, actively bad, but the Family versus the Family. You know what I like about this is sometimes Adriana Rizzo gets to say one line. That is the best thing about these feuds, is that occasionally Adriana Rizzo talks. That is everything good about this entire feud. There is nothing else because it's all Brooks Jensen and Nico Vance. You know what I like, Stax? Like Stax is not going to be a major player ever, but I like Stax. Yeah.
Oh, is that what Ryan Solario in the chat? I just rewatched part of the tag main event. Did you guys hear the crowd chanting Tony fumbled? I was trying to figure out what the hell they were saying. So thank you. Thank you. Tony
I missed
fumbled.
that.
I heard them. I heard
I
Tony
type the chants
something.
all the time.
Yeah, I heard Tony something, but I could not understand what they were saying. So that makes me feel better because it was driving me nuts. But no,
Goodfellow,
I
thank you for allowing me to stop talking about family versus family.
yes.
But yeah,
No, I agree. I mean, I'm right there with you. I mean, this is, in terms of what, the most compelling things on NXT TV, this is at the bottom of the list. You know, the that backstage or not the little vignette, the video package that they did for Sean Spears and his family. The biggest thing that I could see here is, oh wow, they're really good at changing their clothes fast from black to white and white to black.
I actually kind of liked the scene. The problem is what it's leading to is not going to be
any good.
a great
Yeah.
match.
Yeah.
But like the physical changes they were showing, they didn't show like a big physical change for Nico Vance because we don't even know him well enough to notice if he's changed. But like they showed the change for Brooks Jensen, they showed the change for Izzy Dame, who now finally has a look that I might remember. I mean, she's typically been like, oh yeah, that one girl that I keep forgetting, and now maybe I will. I don't know. I think they did what they could with this scene. And I feel for Izzy. She is once again an underling of somebody who they themselves are not really getting pushed. Tony D'Angelo isn't getting pushed, and he's the North American champion. He's often not on TV, and he's often not in the main event slot. And this last time on this PLE, it's the second time that he was on the poster for the PLE, but actually wasn't booked on the show. Whew, boy. So
yeah.
whatever. I guess there's that. Sol Ruka and Zarya, they ran afoul of Piper Niven and Chelsea Green because, of course, they did. Piper Niven with her pepper spray is funny. Chelsea Green is funny. Chelsea Green is not a very good wrestler, but she is funny. So she gets a lot of mileage out of that, and I guess this will be fine. I'm surprised to see that Niven and Green are doing this this match, but I guess they are. So Ruka and Zarya need more people to beat, I suppose, but are these people they should beat? This was, I don't know, of all the crazy stuff that happened this week, this was the most surprising to see Piper and then Chelsea in this context, and then to have something going on because they are pretty well figured into some storylines on the main roster. So anything on this particular appearance, Nate?
Sorry, I just got a message from my boss at 11 o'clock at night. So what segment were you talking about?
Piper Niven and Chelsea Green.
Oh, okay, yeah. I think it's going to be cool to see Piper Niven and Chelsea Green and back, coming back into NXT. Who was that? Who was in that scene with them?
Sol Ruka and Zarya.
Sol Ruka and Zarya. That's right. We were talking about the two of them last week, and a little bit of an oddball pairing with Zarya. I almost thought it was weird in this segment. They're having Sol Ruka kind of bandage up her hand, from training. It seemed like, and it's like as we were talking last week, Zarya, they kind of booked her as this monster heel, or not heel, but like just monster, with the presentation, the gimmick, the video when she comes to the ring. And there she is with the sprained arm getting taped up by her friend. It it's just two totally different visuals. It's I forget who it was. Just one of you guys in the chat last week, said it called her. It was like just another one of the girls, or something to that effect. And that's kind of what it seems like. And I don't really like that presentation for Zarya, given the rest of the presentation that they've given us. But I think when we actually see this match next week, it's going to be fun. I mean, Chelsea Green. I know Kelly has had a love-hate relationship with Chelsea Green. She's never been one of my favorites, but I love what she's doing right now with the United States title. What Piper Niven's doing is, kind of the Secret Service. I think it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant stuff.
I would love it if she could deliver in the ring, but she gets in the ring and she looks like somebody who is like level up kind of
Yeah, I mean,
age. I've never been more frustrated that somebody did not deliver in the ring on a regular basis, because she's so freaking funny right now.
Yeah, no, 100%. So I'm like I said, definitely looking forward to it next week.
CJ LaChapelle asked us, do you think Izzy will end up in NXT? And he is talking about the Izzy who was the Bayley superfan, who Tom Staub, who I do NXT 8 years back. We talked about all this stuff, and Tom lives like 2 miles from Full Sail. So he has gone to many, many, many of these shows and knew Izzy's family and everything like that. And said they were nice people, although they seemed to have an in even beforehand. Will Izzy show up? I feel like in terms of going full circle, it's something that would have to happen. If she doesn't have the talent, she won't. But I think there are people who have said that she does potentially have that talent. How old is she now? It's got to be 19, 20, maybe a little older.
So according to the internet, 17.
17?
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
Oh, yeah. According to Cage Match, she's 17 years old.
Okay. So yeah, I think that so she's like a year younger than Thea Hale was when we first saw her. I think of Thea as the one who was like super fresh out of high school when she first showed up. So
that's right. She debuted before her graduation.
Yes, that was wild. And where is she? But anyway,
she just posted a video on the internet of her going grocery shopping the other day. That was kind of funny.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Izzy is somebody that if they think they can do something with, then they could do that. If they really wanted to, then the long term is she does some kind of thing with Bayley, and maybe you make her life and you make her a tag team champion with Bayley. What a moment that would be. CJ, I really appreciate that you found it in you to not ask specifically about Bayley, but you talked about Izzy, so you'd know we'd have to talk about Bayley. I love your moxie. I love that question. So, yeah, that is good stuff. So let's go to more of the backstage stuff. Kalani Jordan had a moment with Ariana Grace on the bus. They were trash talking Jada Parker, who was 4 feet away.
Like Ariana was stirring up some shit in that, because I mean, she's holding up, you can see she's holding the phone up higher and higher so she can get Jada in the background. Ariana knew what she was doing.
And then later on in the show, Jada cut a promo on Kalani, backstage promo. Jada's so good. She's so good. She's so fiery. She's so mean. I love her so much. And yeah, I dig that. And I cannot believe that this Jada versus Kalani match is not on Roadblock, because of all the feuds going on right now, it's the biggest blood feud other than Evans versus Page. So yeah, it's odd that one is not that. So anything on that before I go to the last couple?
No, I mean, like, I think I really mostly just said what I wanted to say. This Ariana Grace, like, I was, watching that segment, and she's like, "Oh, let's talk about Jada Parker," and you can see Jada Parker sitting in the background. She's staring at her phone, and and she can see herself and Jada in the back, and so like Ariana Grace, she was stirring up the pot a little bit there, but they didn't like. I don't know. It's like they didn't acknowledge that. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Um, I'm so looking forward to this match, and like it's not one that's getting a whole lot of like promotion or whatnot, but I love Kalani, I love Jada. They're awesome in the ring, and like you said, this has been like a real blood feud here. I think once they actually touch in the ring, that it's going to be a contender for match of the night. I'd be completely honest with you. So
I would say a
certainly looking
lock.
forward to that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Goodfellas said 3 matches announced, 2 more possible. Yes, but this one was announced for next week. So the only way this gets on Roadblock also is if they do a quick screw job of some kind and then say, okay, we're doing this next week at MSG. And of course, the local crowd will not be happy about that because then they will not get to see the payoff. So, rocking a hard place there. Eddie Thorpe cut a promo on Trick Williams. Jordan Grace had her thing, and Roxanne Perez. Oh, we kind of talked about that. I just didn't cross it out. And attack from those guys is what I wrote on one of my lines because that group doesn't have a name and they attacked someone, and I didn't quite see who they attacked. Might have been Brooks Jensen, but I was typing at the time and I looked up really quick, and I don't know if that's actually who I saw. So they showed up. Good for them. These guys need some FaceTime because other than Deion Lennox, I don't think people know these guys' faces at all. But there's a group that has no name that people say are Shield clones, and I don't see that at all. I think this is quite a bit different from that. They
I,
attacked NQCC. Okay,
yeah, that I
so
was
I
going to say, I
probably
thought
saw
it was,
Dempsey like.
yeah, I thought
Okay,
I
I
saw
probably
Tavion
saw
Heights on the
Dempsey.
ground.
Okay.
And Tavion Heights was definitely lying on the ground at one point there too.
Okay. Yeah, I saw it so quick and I didn't know who I had seen. And I couldn't make a sense of it being Brooks Jensen. But I thought that's what I saw. Okay, NQCC. That makes way more sense. Thank you. So on any of the other backstage stuff or anything else that was on your mind, Nate?
No, mostly just the faction. I like the idea of a faction coming in and invading and causing chaos and mayhem, but I almost feel like they're not causing enough. Like they're only causing mayhem for main like mid card stuff. They're like, I don't know, if you're 4 guys and you want to make a name for yourself, wouldn't you be, I don't know, messing around with the main event or like, maybe, well, I was gonna maybe you wouldn't be messing with Obafemi's matches because maybe you don't want none of that smoke. But that's, I guess, really my only gripe for me. And I've heard a lot of people say a Shield clone or something like that. For me, this is like Retribution 2.0, just without the weird, stupid nicknames like Slapjack and T-Bar. It does seem like oh, that's right. Ryan just reminded me they attacked Obafemi the first night, so okay, they already got that smoke. That's right, but still, um, that's really all I had to say about that. Just kind of more of a retribution vibe, but very curious to see where this goes.
Yeah, they tacked Oba, and then there was no like all of them were on the show today, and there was no
Yeah, like
follow up
Oba
on
just
that.
didn't care.
It was like they were just like, okay, we're just kidding. Everybody agree to forget that because we're not ready to put these guys on that level. Which fine, but then you shouldn't have made the tease if you were doing that. So okay, that was our show. It was a good one. All babyface winners. That's iffy when you're going into a PLE, but what are you going to, well, PLE light, I guess we have to call this one because this one is regular Tuesday weekly show. It's just going to be a good one. So Goodfellas says thanks, fellas. Thank you for being here. I like this little community we've got. People backing each other up. Good stuff in the chat. The stuff that I don't say, yeah, I'm really, really glad to be part of this chat and part of a group where guys were backing me up when I was going through some stuff. And I know that was happening for another person in the chat here who was going through some stuff. And they were, you know what, Nate, I'm going to get maudlin if I speak about it anymore. CJ, hang in there. And I'm Kelly Wells, and you can find me on social media at other Kelly Wells. Nate, who are you?
Absolutely, absolutely. No, we've got a great group of people here. Great group of people. I'm Nate Lindberg. Check the things I do out at natelindberg.com.
Cheers.